this is an older video, but I think it is good to revisit because of the two people that's in it. It brings attention to the topic, and that is Abby Martin and Joe Rogan. So Abby appeared on the Joe Rogan show and talked about Israel, and it feel like, because she did a documentary, it feels like she was there to inform him, like he's not informed, and now I'm here. Let me know what's going on in Palestine, because he seemed to be very surprised and asking a lot of sort of inquisitive questions. So let's get to that video. And then there's another thread, a great thread that Abby put together, just kind of explaining a lot of things that's going on. So I also want to touch upon that video. So let's get started, and we'll start with the this video here. It's an ODB goodie. It's a short video. It's only 4 minutes. So let's listen to this conversation. Just let me know. I can't see you. Let me know when you want to pause it and make a comment.
Can I just agree with Jesse? I'm so glad that we have these great journalists covering Palestine too. I'm really happy we have great journalists covering Palestine.
Yes.
That makes me
like
happy.
A ton.
Dan Cohen, Eva Bartlett, Vanessa Beeley, John Pilger, Abby Martin. I shouldn't have started naming names because now I feel bad.
Wyatt Reed.
You guys know. Wyatt Reed, yeah.
Yeah, Wyatt Reed, Max
Eva Bartlett just got crushed by YouTube, though.
Yeah, she did. But she's got everything backed up on Odyssey. Eva Bartlett got crushed on YouTube. No surprise. They just took all of her shit down. Years of work in Israel, Palestine. Yeah.
Yeah. And I want to add one thing. Jackie Lukman and Sean, they had just had Bam by Any Means Necessary was taken off the air. Their show was canceled, and they've been not only incredible voices on a free Palestine, incredible voices on the anti-war movement, but probably one of the leading voices to talk about what is going on in D.C. and the D.C. protest scene. And they just got bounced.
From where? From YouTube?
From Bam. The show itself was canceled this past week.
Okay.
You know, I've been on it many times to talk about the protests that are going on in the D.C. streets, and they were just canceled. So just to give you an idea of the environment, and it's funny because it's foreign what is going on right now. Foreign news as well.
Craig Murray just got detained at the airport. You know, totally normal.
All right, those are my girls coming in getting the Wii,
Hi,
whatever that game they want to play. I keep it in here so they just can't willy-nilly go play and have them get brainwashed by a bunch of shit. But
well, yeah, when they're on the air, there's nothing you can do to stop them. They just come in and grab it and leave. They're like, "What's Dad gonna do now? Can't do shit."
All right, so let's listen to this. And if you want to stop and make a comment, please do, and then we'll get to her other.
She's brilliant here.
Thread.
I love it.
Yes, just the sheer information, more so in the other thread. We're going to cover a little bit in this one too. Is why I want to cover this. So let's listen.
Her documentary, Gaza Fights for Freedom, must watch. No, I'm sorry.
It was an argument about Israel.
Her documentary. No, I was on a different screen. Sorry.
Gaza Fights for Freedom. I think Gaza Fights for Freedom, right, guys? Right?
Yeah, they're airing that for free now on Means TV.
Yes.
They made it free.
I'm shit at names of stuff, so I'm always like, is that right?
Yeah, that's the one.
Okay. Yeah, Gaza Fights for Freedom. Because I get them all confused. Killing Gaza, I get them all confused.
Yeah, Killing Gaza is Blumenthal's.
Yeah, and Cohen. Yeah.
Right.
And also, I highly recommend John Pilger's Palestine is Still the Issue. Okay, sorry, I'm done.
Right on. All right, so let's listen.
You showed me that Dennis Prager video.
Which one was that?
It was an argument about Israel where he was talking about why Israel deserves to exist and stuff. After being there, man, holy shit. I feel like people have no idea I didn't even know what the hell was going on until I went to Palestine and saw how crazy it was. But
what is it like? Give me your thoughts and your
So
experience.
Everyone mistakenly thinks that Hamas controls Palestine. That's not true at all. There's 3 different areas that were drawn up with the original partition. It's the West Bank, which is totally under military rule by Israel, and then there's the Gaza Strip, which is like the open air prison, which they bomb the shit out of like every couple of years, and Hamas controls that area. And then there's Jerusalem, which is an international city center that both Arabs and Jews live in. But the West Bank has been occupied militarily since 1967, and it's complete martial law. There's checkpoints. all political parties are illegal. You can't, having a gun is like the
like I've always, I don't know, I'm just posing this question, maybe one of you know, what does does the United States ever make an official statement on some of these conditions? Like, have they ever commented? Have any of you ever read anything where they say, yeah, we're against, these checkpoints?
I mean, I don't think on that. Misty probably knows better than any of us. Obama made some noises about the settlements.
Platitudes. You'll get platitudes. Yeah. Oh, the Palestinians have, it's like the same shit that Kennedy was trying to do. What did he say? The aspirations. We care about the aspirations of Palestinians. You'll get weird bullshit platitudes like that where they're trying to like look as if they give a shit about Palestinian lives, but they actually don't. There's never been any statement of like, holy shit, there's an open air prison. That's bad. There's never been anything like that.
Yeah, and the thing that's really bizarre about this, I mean, even Obama, like, you're right, Obama was just rhetorically harder on Israel than any other president, and Netanyahu absolutely hated him for it. Like, it was very obvious that Netanyahu and Obama hated each other's guts, and it was only because Obama paid lip service to the idea that maybe you should treat Palestinians like fucking human beings. Like, that's all Obama really did. But even that was just so a bridge too far for Netanyahu. They obviously just hated each other.
Yeah.
What did the Jewish lobby think of Obama? Because I don't vividly recall his. I just remember at Banks and Wall Street.
I think they tolerated him.
They just tolerated him.
He was fine because he was only rhetorically more hard on Israel.
Right.
I mean, none of this.
The Republicans invited Netanyahu to address Congress. Right. It was this huge incident.
Well, Trump and Netanyahu are both nationalists, so they got along very well. Obama is an internationalist, and so there was a bit of a stylistic sort of mismatch there, but that's all it really was.
Yeah, personality difference more than policy difference.
Right.
You know what I mean? There's cliques among psychopaths,
you can't hold a flag. You can't
True that.
belong to a political party. You literally can't do shit if you're a Palestinian. You just have to sit there and submit. And even if you share a photo of someone who was like killed by an Israeli soldier, you go to jail, and you go to jail for the amount of like months that, based on the shares and likes of the photo, they'll penalize you more and put you in prison for longer.
That's insane to me. That's insane. I don't mean to laugh because I'm laughing because it's so preposterous, so ridiculous. That it's based on how many people have the truth reached. Basically, we're gonna punish you for this amount of time because you've reached this amount of people. That is just insane. But it's not at least the right way to say it. It shows the understanding of suppressing the truth. It shows the value that they place on suppressing the truth. I think that's the best way to say that. Let's play some more.
Longer and longer. I mean, I'll just tell you one story.
If you put a photo on social media, like you
of
put
someone who
on Facebook,
died, and they'll be like, "You're sharing a martyr and inciting people to like commit suicide, like on behalf of Palestinians. You go to jail," and they put them in jail. There's 99.7% conviction rate. Kids are tortured. Kids are in prison. It is absolutely insane. We went to the first day that we were there.
I had in my footage. I went and shot the protest they had in New York. And I used a lot of footage of these two women. You haven't seen the half of it. I'm gonna put out the Snyder cut. That's gonna be like 20 minutes of that. But these two women who, they were veterans of the Israeli Defense Forces, and they did a Rick James. No, I wouldn't put my feet on the couch. Yeah, I put my feet on the couch. They go, there are no Palestinian children in prison. But the Palestinian children in prison are there because their parents are terrorists. Like, literally, that was the sentence. So, hang on. You're admitting as if this makes sense, as if this is justified, that you have children in prison because of their parents. This is what you're literally saying on camera to show how much better you are than the Palestinians morally. That was their running theme. How much better. We are not like them. We do not celebrate civilian deaths. They are like animals. They are worse than animals. We actually showed footage on Rumble last night of Israelis celebrating
They pull up lawn chairs on the hill in Sderot and like they're at a fireworks display and watch Gaza get bombed. Like, really?
Right.
Okay. And yes, by the way, somebody in the chat is asking because
I haven't
Abby
even
is, Abby is, she's pro-vax and pro-mandate. It's really depressing. She actually blocked me on Twitter because somebody made a joke about, which I still, she's great. I don't hold any grudges. I would love if she unblocked me.
Right.
But yeah, she somebody made the Garbage Pail Kids card, the Jabby Martin, and I think I liked it or I laughed at it or something, and so she blocked me. It's fine, I get it, but it sucks that you're pro mandate. Like, that's bullshit, Abby. That's bullshit.
What I also
that's very surprising from her.
Yes, and that's why it's depressing, because I really like Abby Martin. Like, she's somebody I look up to quite a bit, and so the idea that she fell for that shit is really depressing. Sucks, but yeah, there you have it. She is in fact pro. I don't know. I don't. Obviously, she blocked me, so I don't know if she's changed her opinion since then, but I don't think so.
What I also see in the chat is some people asking, when this video is from, because it's obviously an older one, because this is the old Rogan setup. But
2 years ago.
But
2 years ago.
But Abby's been doing work for like over a decade, really, on this when it wasn't popular at all.
Yes. But this is actually a really important point, which is that it doesn't really matter when this is from. This is what people don't understand about this, is that what's happening to Palestine now is just an accelerated version of what's been happening to Palestine for decades, right? So like, and this is what people just do not know. They see the consequences of Israel's quote unquote retaliation for the Hamas attack. Their timeline starts at the Hamas attack, right? But actually, the timeline extends far prior to the Hamas attack, because all these videos we showed on Rumble last night, videos of Palestinian kids crying over the corpses of their parents, I mean, just horrible, gut-wrenching stuff. That's all happening now more than it happened before the Hamas attack, because now they are just genociding Gaza. But all those videos have been circulating. Those kinds of videos have been circulating for years and years and years. So if you follow the right accounts, you'd have seen videos every few days of the exact same thing. So it doesn't really matter when we're talking about. The operative thing here is that there has been a slow motion genocide of the Palestinian people in place for a very long time. Now it's a fast motion. That's the only difference. The only difference is the speed at which it's taking place now. But fundamentally, not much has changed. In fact, not anything has changed in the way Israel has viewed the Palestinian people. Not at all.
And can we also point out that Hamas is it is an Israeli creation. They fund it.
Yes,
they've been boosting it for years. So this is not like
they funded it because it was more radical than the PLO.
Well, yeah, they wanted to be able, first of all, to cause disruption amongst Palestinians. Obviously, and this is the same thing. It's a color revolution. It's the same thing we do. It's the same. We just install our own little people, cause a whole bunch of chaos, and then we swoop in and take over. And that's
Hamas was basically their Pied Piper strategy. Is basically what it was.
Pretty much.
So I have to educate myself more. We had a very intelligent comment. I don't know if you saw it, Keaton, on our one of our videos about Israel, from a guy from Turkey who basically said that all of these Arab countries had been going in a more socialist Marxist direction. And really, it was the West that installed these religious fanatical governments to turn that back. I know there were a lot of socialist Marxist activities there, but that whole history, I mean, it's something, especially in light of this, because sadly, I think this is just the preamble to a much wider conflict. I think we all need to educate ourselves more on this region and this subject, because I've never heard quite that. I don't know if anybody on the panel has or knows anything about it. I mean, it sounded credible. It's definitely something I want to research.
Well, that's what we do, right? Anytime there's a move towards, why doesn't communism work? Well, because it's sabotaged every time. It's never really been given an opportunity. I'm not saying it would work, but I'm saying it's never been given it's never actually existed. There's always been attempts to sabotage it. There's always been attempts to overthrow those governments. It never fails. Never fails. So
two things. The reason we're going over this video, there is a reason. I know Keaton was saying this is good information regardless, which is true. But there was an article just written about this because this video resurfaced and went viral again. Like a new viral video, because it resurfaced because of everything that's happening, and it resurfaced and it went viral so much that an article was actually written about this. You can just type in what this is, type in their name, and it'll pop right up. It's like the only article that's recent that'll pop up with their two names. So that's what kind of triggered this to watch the full video, and I found it, and that's why we watch it. And then the other thing is, just realize we have 3 Jewish people here on the panel. And my question to you then, with talking about Palestine, is if you are a Jewish person who is anti-Zionist, are you looked at as a sellout by Zionists? Do Zionists consider you like a sellout? Any one of you?
I mean, I stopped worrying about that years ago, but I'm slow. I think I'm late to the party. I came really around in 2014. I struggled with it. I argued with my mother about it because she would say there is atrocities on both sides, and I think that's a kind of a cowardly thing, and I didn't do any deep research. And then 2014 hit, and if you remember, it was I think a 1,500 to 6 ratio of civilians, 500 to 1 on children. And that's when I started looking at the math, and I'm like, yo, this doesn't look like it's two-sided. I mean, just, common sense, objective math. And then I start really doing research, and I start being offended, and I go out and I cover my first Free Palestine protest. And 2014 is very different than it is today. Like, if you talked about it, you were kind of like on the out no matter where you were. Whereas there's a groundswell thanks to incredible activists, thanks to BDS activists, other activists, Palestinians risking their lives, risking their careers to educate the rest of us, including myself. And there's an unlearning that has to happen. I was raised on Holocaust movies. I was raised on Never Again and all of those things. And when you come to find out that Israel's not, how it was presented to you as a child of this beautiful haven, that people actually lived there and then they were killed, because I never got that part of the story, right? And you get that. There's an unlearning. There's a whole, wow. It takes a minute. And it took me a few minutes of a few years of processing before 2014. And what I think is a lot of Jewish folks have to speak to other Jewish folks, but never before in history, particularly this week, has it been so obvious, has it been so evident. We didn't have cell phone videos over a decade ago. Now we have all the evidence in the world. And not only that, but I think there is one difference when you go to this past week, is that Israeli officials are saying the genocide out loud. They're admitting war crimes out loud. They're calling them human animals out loud, putting America in this precarious position because they can't have plausible denial anymore when they're saying, you're goddamn right, I promote genocide, and I'm going to tell you about it. So that is a little different. And it's an opening to have some very serious conversations.
It's very... not funny, haha, but funny, weird that both the Nazis in Ukraine and these genocidal maniacs are putting the United States in a bad position, and they're still kind of riding with it. I'm going to kind of push through this segment to this video, and this is a little bit more recent, where she just kind of goes through a couple of points here, and I'm just going to read the thread and play the short videos. Each has like a 1-minute video here. So now that Israel and the United States, or U.S. officials, have pivoted from sheer retaliation, their old human shield excuse, I debunked that argument in 5 points, the human shields argument. And let's listen to this first one here.
Point 1. Israel provides no evidence that there are human shields. So far, the best they can do is share these photoshopped images. See, the building is red. That means Hamas is there. For all of Israel's sophisticated surveillance technology with eyes over every single inch of Gaza, you'd think that they'd be able to produce more than cartoons and doctored graphics. In fact, the only proof they have provided so far are fake videos of Hamas rockets in residential areas. On May 15th, the IDF published a video of an Israeli training operation using a Hamas decoy, but claimed it was an actual Hamas missile launcher near civilians. In another lie, Netanyahu's spokesman tweeted a video claiming it was Hamas firing rockets next to an apartment building. Turns out this was a video from 2018 in Syria. So where's the actual evidence? If they cannot provide any, their claims must be investigated and brought to a trial. Even if there was evidence that Israel was hitting legitimate military targets, it still is illegal to kill such an outrageous amount of civilians. And you can't legally blow up a hospital, even if there are militants nearby. Either way, Israel should not be allowed to be above the law.
Well, that's her first point, and to me, that's
Common fucking
no
sense.
evidence provided. And that's and it's funny because what's the show called? Save America. I've been watching an episode. It's called Disinformation, and it's really a psyop. They're trying to like use reverse psychology in the video, and to speak to this point that they have no evidence, because they were saying in the video, like when they found out the beheaded story was fake, it was like, yeah, people are arguing about this. Who cares? Like,
it matters.
Yeah, we want to try to get this correct, but come on, does it really matter? They were literally arguing this in this video, and I was amazed. I covered it a couple of days ago. If anybody in the audience wants to check it out. Now, before I go to the second one, anyone had a comment on anything she said here before we go to the second?
Can I just say that yes, it fucking matters. Beheaded baby story is a lie. Yeah, kids died, and it sucks no matter how they were killed. But it matters in the same way incubator babies matters. It matters. It fucking matters. The atrocity propaganda being exposed for the emotional manipulation that it is matters. And I'm so tired of people pretending like, oh, you just don't care that kids died. What the fuck are you talking about? That has nothing to do with debunking an obvious lie that the president of the United States went on national TV and lied about seeing. And then he gets on Twitter today and laments that a Palestinian family was attacked. Well, you fucking helped do that, dude, by spreading the bullshit. So that's why it matters.
Sorry, while we're on this human shield question.
That's absolutely right. That's absolutely right.
I mean, while we're on this human shield question, can I just, I mean, this strikes me as common sense, but I don't know, maybe I'm missing something. We have a panel of 5 very, very smart people here. Hopefully, maybe somebody can answer this. Israel says, well, okay, we warn the Palestinians in advance that we're going to be blowing up this building so they have time to evacuate. Okay, so if you're going around passing out flyers saying we're going to bomb this area, so you better leave, how do they know they're not alerting Hamas to the fact that they're going to bomb and telling Hamas that they have to leave? Like what? Like I don't understand that. Well, we make sure that the civilians know to leave. Well, how do you know you're not informed? I mean, in broadcasting, we're going to bomb this area soon. Aren't you also alerting Hamas? Right? Yeah. Doesn't that take all the validity out of this excuse of, well, we are trying to target Hamas, not civilians? Well, if that's the case, then isn't it also the case that in announcing where you're going to attack, you're also alerting your quote unquote enemy? Right? It just, I mean, to me, I don't know. Can anybody explain how that makes sense? Maybe I'm just stupid.
Well, in the end, they're trying to make the area uninhabitable.
Well, that's it. Well, right. But that's what it's about. It's about we are trying to level this area, and they are going to claim this for themselves. You know, that's really what they're going to do now. It has nothing to do with killing Hamas. It has nothing to do with targeting terrorists or civilians. It's about leveling the place, killing whoever's in our way, and taking the land back. That's what this has all been about for 75 years. Just check the fucking maps. It's very obvious that's what this has been about for the longest time. They don't care who they kill, whether they're terrorists, civilians, women, children, does not matter to these fascists at all.
And I just adding to the war propaganda, you know, it's remarkable how whenever these colonialists want to justify atrocities against people, the tropes are the same. It's rape and women and children in jeopardy. That whether it's against blacks, whether it's against Native Americans, it's always the same trope that the women, their chastity is endangered by these savages, and the children are going to be murdered or worse, right? It's incredible how consistent those images are, and there's a reason for that, because it stirs a very basic, violent reaction in people when they think of that. If you can convince them that that's really true, that that's what you're defending people against, you can get them to commit atrocities. It's the quickest way to just hit that lizard brain reaction.
And not, if we're talking about lizard brain, not only that, but when you have the defense minister saying human animals talking about Palestinians, and you turn humans to animals, then you know you're no longer committing human rights crimes because you don't consider them human.
That's
and
Nazi
we
shit.
know that's Nazi. That's right.
Yeah,
That's Nazi.
literally.
That's what was done to the Jews. Jews were vermin. That Hitler did that to the Jews, and by making the Jews rats and vermin, that justified the Holocaust. You're not actually doing something. In our country, you could go back to slavery. When you get into around the 1830s, they had these respectable scientists come on and say, yes, slavery is the best of the worst options because, you know, they're not really human. They're lower on the evolutionary, black people lower on the evolutionary scale. Respected scientists were saying this. So anytime you have genocide, you have brutality, you have slavery, and you have the dehumanization. And what was so striking about that is he said it out loud in a press conference. There was no pretense to try to hide it. So he handed over his cards.
Absolutely. All right, let's listen to point 2, everybody.
Point 2. We shouldn't take Israel's claims of human shields at face value, because they have an extensive history of lying about it. I think the most irrefutable example are their killings at Gaza's Great March of Return, which we documented in our film, Gaza Fights for Freedom. At this Great March, Israeli snipers directly targeted and killed 183 unarmed demonstrators, including 35 innocent children at these protests, journalists, marked press, medics performing medical aid, a man in a wheelchair, and so many more. But Israel said they were all human shields, so it was all legitimate. Here's where they really exposed themselves. According to international law, human shield applies to civilians as collateral damage when you're targeting military forces in combat. But at the Great March protests, there were no militants, nobody shooting at Israelis, nobody with weapons, no targets remotely connected to military operations. So if all of those children, medics, journalists, and disabled people were human shields, who were they shielding? Even when they killed celebrated female medic Razan al-Najjar, they released a propaganda video saying she was a human shield. But shielding what? Under no circumstances would killing that many civilians at an unarmed protest, with the defense that they were human shields for non-existent military targets, hold up for a second in a war crimes tribunal. Today, Israel relies on the fog of war to make this claim seem possible. But just 2 years ago, Israel showed an irrefutable pattern of lying about human shields, and now they have zero credibility.
Man, Israel, like, I'm just learning more and more. Israel is freaking
Point 2.
terrible.
We shouldn't take Israel's claim.
Fucking bad.
This is why I say fuck Israel all the time. I'll say it. Fuck Israel.
And by the way, it just came across my phone 11 minutes ago. We'll break some news here. Biden will be visiting Israel on Wednesday.
Of course he will.
Yep.
Of course. Yeah.
Fuck Biden. He still hasn't been to East Palestine, Ohio. He's going to go to Israel.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
Hasn't been East Palestine or Palestine.
Well, no, he got lost on the way to East Palestine.
Right.
At least that's what he'll say.
He got
Here
confused.
is
All right, here. Where's
good.
this train at now?
That was good.
Well, yeah.
Where's the train at?
Where's the train at?
There's got to be a train around here somewhere.
Yeah. We can do this all day.
Here is point 3 right here. Credibility, point 3.
Point 3. According to Israel's own definition of human shield, every man, woman, and child in Gaza is a human shield. They claim that anyone in the vicinity of not only Hamas missile sites, but Hamas offices, Hamas individuals, is a human shield. This includes Hamas members who are sleeping at home with their families and the surrounding houses.
Wait, so When they go home, the people in the houses that when they're sleeping, they're considered human shields.
Yeah,
like that's what I'm saying. Like, what does the United States have to say about these ridiculous things that's going on? Like, what is the
support it,
response?
whatever.
We support it. We arm it. We fund it. We give them almost $4 billion a year. That's what we do. They have healthcare. We don't.
And more.
I was hoping one of you say no. The U.S. said this, but none of you are saying
really.
That.
You expected me to say yeah?
No,
Joe Biden
no, I did not.
I mean, Joe Biden said if Israel didn't exist, we'd invent it. Like it's a geopolitical toy for us. That's what all it is.
That's it.
Well, it's a vassal state.
Yeah.
In an oil-rich region.
51st state.
You're paying rent to keep your missiles there. That's basically you're paying $4 billion in rent to keep your missiles in the region.
Yeah.
This includes anyone within a mile of any Hamas institution, which is literally all of the 2 million people who live there. Look, Hamas is the government of Gaza. Therefore, any civilian infrastructure is considered Hamas infrastructure, everything from transportation to healthcare. So anyone in the vicinity of those things or people can be killed with impunity. Even Israel's Minister of Defense confirmed that this is indeed their view, stating on May 18th that, quote, no person, area, or neighborhood in Gaza is immune from airstrikes. How is it in any way acceptable that Israel can categorize every human being in Gaza a legitimate target? And if you take Israel's logic far enough, they could kill everyone in Gaza, and it would be justified.
Isn't that what they're doing right now, everybody?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
This is why Hamas was created.
Of course.
This is why Hamas was created. So they
Point
could do
3.
This is exactly why. Now they can just label everything Hamas. Everybody's Hamas. And it's the big boogeyman. It's the scapegoat. And now we can just indiscriminately bomb whoever the fuck we want.
Yeah. It's not working this time, though.
No.
It's not working.
No.
And Joe Biden in his 60 Minutes interview with his, yeah, we're America, man. We can handle both fronts. We're fine. If that is not hubris, I don't know.
We can't even take care of our own fucking people.
That is some famous last words right there, man.
People are no, that's not going to fly. Maui, really? You're going to tell the people of Lahaina that we can take care of these two wars, Joe? Really? I don't think that's going to play all that well, homie.
Yeah, I mean, it's just so obscene. I mean, when you think about it, it's just so obscene that you have, and you know, just to add insult to injury, you have this senile old man who doesn't know where he is saying, "We're the most powerful country in the history of the world. Of course, we can finance 2 world wars at the same time. We can't extend the child tax credit. We can't get the people of Maui more than $700 per household, even as, you know, Vanguard is, you know, trying to buy up their fucking burnt front lawn. But no, we can finance both Israel and Ukraine. I mean, you know, listen, one of the truest statements ever spoken on our show was by our friend Anis Shivani, who came on 2 years ago. It was before we were even on YouTube. I don't even know where this is. Probably in an audio podcast somewhere. Maybe we put it on YouTube. He said, you know, at a certain point, the country falls so far, it becomes immoral to even root for the country's success anymore. And I think that's absolutely true. Like, I mean, this is just a despicable country that we're talking about. Oh yeah, we can finance the Ukraine war and the Israel war at the same time, but we can't give parents $10.50 a day for their kid. That's what the child tax credit is. The child tax credit's $300 UBI per child per month. $300 per month, right? So what is that? That's about $10 a day. We can't give a parent $10 a day to take care of their kid as a tax credit when we know that will cut child poverty in half. But we can fucking finance World War III on 2 fronts that aren't ours. At a certain point, you have to say, does this country deserve salvation? Does this country deserve redemption? No, it does not. No, it does not. I'm sorry.
I agree.
Point 4. If you accept Israel's definition of human shield, then you have to accept that Israel is using human shields as well. Armed Israeli soldiers are everywhere among civilian areas. Not only that, but their military bases are nestled in densely populated residential areas. For example, The Israeli Defense Forces' main headquarters is smack dab in the middle of a residential sector of Tel Aviv and a major shopping center. Does anyone accuse Israel of using human shields? In another example, the Israeli army broadcasts from a residential apartment tower with antennas on the roof. If Hamas leveled that building, does anyone doubt it would be deemed a war crime? What we have here is a double standard. Israel wants the human shield defense for them to be any civilian they kill. But for any civilian killed by Hamas, it's a war crime. You know, the purpose of international laws of war is to create a standard that's applied to all sides equally. But Israel and the United States have a different view, that the rules only apply to their enemies.
Great. There's one more, and then we'll end here if there's any final comment. Now, there's more videos, but we're only gonna
Point
do
4.
this last one right here.
If you accept Israel's definition of human shield,
oops, let's play it now.
Buffering.
All right, there we go.
If everyone in Gaza is a legitimate human shield, that's only because of Israel's own design. This is a situation of Israel's own making. Israel drew the borders, and Israel refuses to let anyone leave. To leave Gaza, you must get approval from the Israeli government, and the government will almost always say no. So what are people supposed to do who want to remove themselves from the carnage? They have literally nowhere to run and nowhere to hide. Israel has made Gaza, in every sense of the term, an open-air prison. They trap 2 million civilians in this tiny strip of land. Then they bomb their neighborhoods and say, well, they shouldn't have been there. The mountain of civilian dead has to be looked at through the perspective of the Israeli blockade and the inability of anyone to escape. Resistance forces in Gaza have nowhere else to go to. Gaza's self-defense capabilities are confined to this heavily populated area. And Israel has intentionally made Gaza unlivable. The only way Gaza is able to exert pressure on Israel is by firing rockets. If they peacefully protest their conditions, they're massacred just the same. If they do nothing, Israel continues to blockade them, erode their living conditions, while ethnically cleansing the rest of their land. Israel has made it so the only leverage Gaza has to get any change is using the one weapon it has. Besides, Gaza has the right to self-defense under international law. And contrary to what Israel claims, the current round of fighting was started by Israel, not Hamas, when they deployed criminal violence against Al-Aqsa and Sheikh Jarrah. And right at the outset, on May 12th, Hamas offered a ceasefire to Israel. Israel rejected it because they wanted to keep going, despite their rhetoric of only wanting the rockets to stop. So if Israel's going to keep bombing, Gaza has no choice but to fight back. And that in turn becomes the excuse for Israel massacring so-called human shields.
And yeah, we're going to stop the videos there, but now we're not leaving the Palestinian topic, but you know, we're going to close.
Can I just say one thing really quickly?
Abby. Yeah, I did want to go around the table and see any last comments on.
I just want to. I know that that's an older. Is this an older video or is this newer? This is older.
2021, okay. I think it's.
Okay, so yeah, can we stop calling it an open air prison? It's a concentration camp. We need to call it what the fuck it is, because that term I think is going to get a lot more. This open air prison thing. I understand that it is a concentration camp. The definition for a concentration camp. You ready? Here we go. A place where large numbers of people, especially political prisoners or members of persecuted minorities, are deliberately imprisoned in a relatively small area with inadequate facilities, sometimes to provide forced labor or to await mass execution. The term is most strongly associated with the several hundred camps established by the Nazis in Germany and occupied Europe in 1933, 1945. That it's a fucking concentration camp. That's what Gaza is. Period.
Yeah, no, that's an important point. Look, the evolution of the terminology. I mean, before we were calling it an open air prison, we were calling it an apartheid state, right? I mean, and this is worse than that. It's worse than that, and people don't know that. You know, I referred to it as an apartheid state for a long time. Then I started calling it an open air prison, and then when Norm Finkelstein in the Jimmy Dore interview with pasta. He called it what it is. I mean, he's the authority on this. There's nobody who knows this issue better than he does, at least who's in our circles as much as he is. And that's absolutely what it is. There's absolutely no doubt about it. And I think you're right. It is important that we call it that because, when people hear, it's unequal, Palestinians are second-class citizens, right? That paints a picture. Right. It's like, that's like the Starbelly Sneetches, right? It's like, oh, yeah, this is not good, but is it our business to interfere? And, when you start talking about this in the terms that accurately describe it, that really much, much more effectively communicates the moral disgrace and the moral emergency that this is.
I mean, the idea that they won't even let these people out by sea.
Right.
They won't. You can't even escape by water. It's like the old movie Escape from New York, where they all got put on Manhattan, and the waterways were mined, and you couldn't go anywhere. This is their actual reality. Of course, it's a concentration camp. But this, I think, is about to explode because Israel, in its hubris, it seems like they're not going to back down. And the United States, in its arrogance, is not going to back down. And I think that the surrounding Arab nations, with their own populations erupting in the streets and with these images circulating online in a way that they never would have in the past, where people are really seeing these atrocities, Iran said it through the UN. Hey, if you go ahead with this ground assault, we're going to have to intervene. There's already sniping between the Israeli forces and Hezbollah. I think these Arab countries come off the sidelines. I think you're looking at the opening rounds of World War III here.
I was about to say I'm with Russell, but I can't say that last statement. I can't deny that the possibility of that last statement either. But I was agreeing with really what you're saying, and I think I would liken it to maybe Bull Connor today, that the Israel hubris is that, for 60 years, the terror of Jim Crow apartheid was horrific. But if you ask white Southerners, they say it's peaceful. Everybody has a plan. It's not so bad over here. These are outside agitators. But what Bull Connor did for the world with the hoses and all that showed the world exactly who they were. And I think what you're seeing right now in Israel, they're showing the world exactly who they are, which has been so hidden for so long. And the last thing I'll say is that this comes off the heels of what I would call prepping, which is in July, that there was a resolution that all but 9 members of Congress signed. And 2 of the 3 parts of that resolution, one was to say the state of Israel is not a racist or apartheid state. They had to sign that resolution. And the third part of that resolution, and this is most relevant, is the United States will always be a staunch partner and supporter of Israel. Now think about that. All but 98% of Congress people signed this, Republican and Democrat, to say another country will support them no matter what. And now we're only a couple months later, and that resolution is governing who is speaking out and who is not.